Hey everybody, Week 9, Bills, Bengals recap. Buffalo drops it 24-18, drops to 5-4 on the season. It seems like for now the fifth or sixth straight week, we're looking at a struggling Bills team, and I don't know if there's any answers coming anytime soon. Here we'll just jump right into a quick breakdown here. I feel like I say the same things every week here lately. We'll start with the offense. Another week, another lackluster performance. It seems the boys just can't get into a rhythm. We thought we found a little something last week with the up tempo stuff. It seemed like when Josh is able to call his own game and his own plays, the offense moves and seems to be more in a rhythm and more successful, honestly. So don't know why that wasn't part of the game plan this week. They brought it up. Recording this on a Tuesday, so they brought it up yesterday, Monday, in a McDermott presser, and him and Dorsey and Allen, they all say they wanted to try a new offense. They wanted to try something different. It's like why? It worked for you last week. You were able to move the ball. You were able to score points. And against a team like Cincinnati, who you're going to need to, match score for score pretty much, I don't know why you choose this week to get cute. So it's just beyond frustrating at this point. I've said his name every week, and I think now the national media and people outside of Buffalo are starting to see that Ken Dorsey's a major liability for this team. His play calling, his philosophies, they're just not working. And when you got a team and a quarterback like Josh Allen who's in his prime, we can't be wasting it now. I mean, they were 2 years removed from being the team that should have won the Super Bowl, honestly, that year. And fast forward to now, there's a real shot that this team misses the playoffs altogether. So they're gonna have to have some tough conversations here coming up pretty soon. It sounds like I think people inside the organization are also starting to get a little frustrated with it. If you listen to the post-game conferences from McDermott and Allen, they both kind of had little tiny digs towards Dorsey. I don't know if they were intentional or not, but it was brought up to McDermott and saying, why'd you guys get away from the up-tempo stuff? It seemed to be working for you. And his answer was, I'm not sure why we did that. And then later on they sit down with Josh and they ask him, why did y'all decide to go this route, or how come it's not working this week? And Josh comes back and says, I can only run the plays that are called. And to me, that sounds like a, shot at Dorsey. Maybe it's just me hoping, but whatever. Looking more into the offense for this game. Started out looking good. I mean, they, their first drive, they went right down the field and scored. And kind of the rest of the first half, it was more of a struggle. The thing I say every week, other than Ken Dorsey needs to go, is where is James Cook? And boy, not only James Cook, but man, in this game, where's the rushing game in general? The Bills had 8 attempts by Bills running backs the whole game, 8 rushing attempts, for a total of 24 yards by Bills running backs. Josh Allen himself rushed 8 times. So, boy, it's not a good look. You can have the eye test and you can see on TV what's not working and stuff like that. But man, when you actually look at these numbers, it's pitiful. And not only was there no rushing game, but the other thing that hasn't really been talked about outside of Buffalo, but I think it's starting to now, is Buffalo doesn't have a wide receiver 2, like a set in stone wide receiver 2. Everybody just assumed it was Gabe Davis because he had the freak game that Kansas City playoff game, but he just doesn't show up. There was a funny meme that they had on Twitter or whatnot. It was like, Gabe Davis is kind of like Santa Claus. He'll have one big outing a year, and other than that, he's MIA. And I mean, it was a perfect analogy for him, honestly, because he'll have a game where he'll show up like the Kansas City game, and he'll have 4 touchdowns for 200 yards, and then this past Monday or Sunday night didn't have a single catch. So yeah, it's not Davis, and it's not anybody on this roster, honestly. I have all the guys wrote down here. Josh threw the ball 38 times total. He was 26 of 38 for 258 yards. Out of the 26 completions, 16 of those went to Stephon Diggs or Dalton Kincaid. That means there's 10 missing, obviously. Okay. Running backs, James Cook, Latavius Murray, they each had 5 catches, or not each. They combined for 5 catches. So that means outside of Stephon Diggs and Dalton Kincaid and the screen passes to running backs, Bills wide receivers had 5 catches the remainder of the game. I mean, you can't have that and expect to be a successful offense. And it's mind-blowing, especially because they have some guys that can play. Like Shakir's coming into his own this year. I mean, out of the 5 receptions by other Bills receivers, he had 4 of them. So I think maybe Josh is starting to get a little more comfortable throwing to him. But, yeah, that's just it's embarrassing. And, like I said, you can see it on TV, but when you actually sit down and look at the numbers, and it's embarrassing. And it's something that's got to get fixed quick. Otherwise, those teams, like I said in previous videos, I think 9-8 is their ceiling right now. So hopefully maybe this week they'll figure it out. I seem to say that every week, so who knows? Maybe week 10 will be the week that they get going. We'll take a break from offense just because there wasn't a whole lot of it. Like I said, their first drive was good. First drive of the second half was good. Resulted in a field goal. Could have been a touchdown if the penalty flag was thrown like it should have, but it wasn't. And then, Buffalo, in all honesty, I mean, they dominated the third quarter, and they were driving there in the fourth quarter before, Kincaid had that costly fumble. But you can't get mad at Kincaid. I mean, the dude he's going 120% and trying to make a play for an offense that's struggling. So whatever. We'll move on to the defense. Obviously, it's well known Buffalo's very thin on defense, hurting for playmakers, really. I mean, they lost Matt Milano, Daquan Jones, Trey White. They're big guys, and it's shown. The Cincinnati, first 2 drives were perfect examples of it. I mean, they just walked down the field. It wasn't even contested hardly. And, losing Daquan Jones, I think, is the biggest of them all. I mean, obviously, love Matt Milano, but Daquan Jones was pushing the pocket, the first handful of games, and was the reason why the Bills, at the time, had the most sacks and were first forcing turnovers. It's because of the pressure, and they're not getting that push anymore. And it's definitely hurting, an aging Bills secondary. Trey White's obviously down, but Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, they're aging guys. I mean, they're definitely on their last leg in the NFL, and they're slow. Their reaction time is way down compared to what it was just a couple seasons ago. So I think that's Buffalo's biggest problem, is getting some pass rush. But it seemed to be, in the second half they seemed to figure it out a little bit. Obviously only holding Cincinnati to 3 points in the whole second half was huge. But with guys out and rookies coming in, it seems like it seems like you're going to see poor tackling, and that has been definitely the case. I mean, heck, the last stand Buffalo's defense had to try and keep the game alive, a veteran like Von Miller missed the tackle. And Von Miller could be a whole separate video. I understand he's, coming off a major injury and all that, but man, that dude has been non-existent. He has made, I don't know if he has a credited solo tackle since he's been back. I mean, it's like Buffalo's paying for a bench coach, really, because he's been non-existent. But yeah, poor tackling on the defense, and then getting off the field on third down seemed to be another Achilles for them, at least in the first half. It seemed like there was, a couple times where they had Cincy, third medium, third long, and they gave up the chunk play and kept drives going for them. So stuff like that, it sucks. And obviously, everybody's going to pin that on McDermott because he's calling defensive plays. But again, you're missing a lot of people. And, to Brandon Beane's credit, he went out and, he got some help right before the deadline, bringing in a guy like Rasul Douglas who, just came into town on, Wednesday or Thursday, and he was thrown into the game on Sunday night and held his own. So, that maybe going forward, that'll be something that'll help. But, yeah, for now, defense is struggling, but, to their credit, like I said, they held a Cincinnati offense that has been humming these past couple weeks to just 3 points in the second half. So, last thing I'll kind of touch on, and I don't like normally doing it because it doesn't do any good, but you might as well throw it out there, is the officiating in this game was pretty bad. Buffalo was flagged 5 times, and in my opinion, at least 3 of those were just totally bogus calls that had no business being a penalty. You can look at, Buffalo's first drive. Josh Allen walks into the end zone, gives a little point, saying like, "Oh, I juked you out." Flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct. And it's like, damn, how many times have you seen in a game Tyreek Hill throw up the deuces, or, other people do stuff like that, and it's, it's supposed to be funny and people laugh about it, but yeah, I mean, you throw a flag for that. I mean, that's silly. Luckily, it didn't really affect anything, but just the fact that, Josh had a flag on his record, I guess. It just is stupid. And then I believe it was the second drive of the game for Cincinnati. Buffalo pressure right up the middle. Tim Settle sacks Burrow, clean sack, flagged for roughing the passer. I mean, just totally. I mean, even a guy like Chris Collinsworth, who never gives the Bills any kind of praise when he calls games, even said that's not roughing the passer. And he's an offensive guy, obviously. So I mean, that'll tell you something right there. And the biggest just boneheaded call, in my opinion, was the intentional grounding call on Allen right before halftime. It's an option play. The receiver has an option to either go out or go up. Okay? Miscommunication, obviously. Josh thinks he's going up. He went out. Throws the ball. It's incomplete. Sure, nobody was in the area because it was a option route that didn't go as planned. You never see that called as intentional grounding because it's not grounding. But that took away the Bills' opportunity to at least try a field goal before halftime. And it's just bad. You call those 3 things, and then you get to the ones that weren't called. Like I said, the first drive of the second half. Josh throws the ball to Gabe Davis in the end zone. Gabe goes to make a play on it. Defender is ripping his face mask. If that's not at least pass interference, it's a 15-yard face mask penalty, right? Nope. And then the other play right before half was, Josh threw it to Kincaid, and he's blatantly tripped. I mean, the slow-mo of the play, the guy lifts his leg up and trips him. That's a penalty. Ref was right there. Why wasn't that called? Even Mike Tirico said, "Oh, that's 2 minutes for tripping in the NHL." I mean, and then the one towards the end of the game, the personal foul, blindside hit on Mike Hyde that should have been called, never was. Ended up Hyde got hurt. So, for the three bogus ones that they do call, three pretty big ones that they don't call, and would it have made a difference? Don't know. But it's definitely been a talking point this year on how officiating's been deciding games, and not saying that was the case here. Could have been, might have been, but in the end, Buffalo loses, falls to 5-4. Jets lost, so the Bills can stay in second place in the East, and I guess keep track with Miami, who continues to lose to good football teams. So I guess we at least got that going for us. We get to play them one more time. So yeah, it's a mess in the AFC East. It's a mess in Buffalo right now, and hopefully this coming Monday night, Buffalo once again back in prime time, hosting the Broncos in Orchard Park, and it's a must-win game for them. So if they come out flat like they've looked these past almost 2 months now, and God forbid they lose that football game, then I think you're gonna see some rioting in Buffalo, because they're at 4 losses, and last season they had 3 total. So oh well, I could sit on here and rant for probably an hour, but we'll move on to Denver. Buffalo 5-4, not in the playoff picture currently, but should get back in the win column Monday night, hopefully. So appreciate y'all. Go Bills.